Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Assassin's Creed, your number one podcast for all things Assassin's Creed. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Templar ideology and how it doesn't really and how it's not really different from Assassins. Now, my podcast has always been a show that's your one stop for everything Assassin's Creed, essentially. But with 14 years of lore and world building and tons of information, I have noticed I have left the Templars to the wayside. This is not very good on my half, so this is the beginning of a lot more Templar themed episodes. I've got two planned, this one and the Instruments of the First Will, which I keep teasing. I'm excited to release that one. But also looking at Valhalla's connection to the future Templars. So thank you to Just User on Twitter for giving me this idea. So pretty simple, what is the Templars ideology? And some of the Templars ideology is no different from the Assassin. The Assassins want freedom through peace. No dictatorship, no rules, it's just freedom. Where the Templars have a more grounded approach, where they see that humans need a guiding hand. They can't be the shepherds of their own will, essentially. And their ideology centers about guiding humanity through order. You need to have a structure, you need to have a dictatorship, you need to have an ideology that sets out that you're going to better mankind by creating order, structure, something that the Assassins are always trying to undermine. Now, I don't mean that in a bad way. By undermine, they've tried to prevent too much order. See, the problem with order and freedom is you need balance. You can't have too much order, you can't have too much freedom. And in the world of the video game world, this is the paradox we're trapped in. The centers around the stories, the Templars having too much order, too much control. The Borgias, for example, ruled over Rome and Italy with an iron fist. French Revolution, a bit different because Arno's story was a bit of a revenge story, but the Industrial Revolution of what is it called, Victorian period in Syndicate, sorry about that, showed that how by controlling the factories, controlling the workers, you essentially control the industry. Controlling the industry can bring a country to its knees. That's too much power for one company, well, one organisation, and that's where the Assassins have to step in, and they have to try and liberate for a bit of freedom. But if there's too much freedom, not enough rules, not enough order, not enough structure, it leads to chaos, and that's why the Templars are needed. So it is two ends of the same coin. They're no different. They're all aiming for peace. But one thing when I did this podcast, and it's a view that I never thought I'd take because I'm very optimistic on both sides. I think both sides of the faction are equally wrong and equally right. But I'm finding the Templars' ideology more grounded than Assassins. The reason for that is Haytham Kenway told his son, Connor, that people never have the power, only the illusion of it. And here's the real secret. They don't want it. The responsibility is too great to bear. It's why they're so quick to fall in line as soon as someone takes charge. They want to be told what to do. They yearn for it. Little wonder that since all mankind was built to serve. And that's an impactful quote because the Templars' ideology has led to some extremes of control. There doesn't seem to be an ounce where the good people, Cult Cosmos in Odyssey, they were not very good there, starting a war. The Order of Ancients Origins, again, they killed an innocent child to get secrets. That's not a good look. Templars in the first one started a crusade. That's even worse, a whole crusade. So their ideology is to my eyes, is grounded that humans were built as a subservient race. They were the slaves. They had no free will. They had no mind. They just bowed to their master. That was humans designed from the Isu. But Adam and Eve liberated mankind and led a war. So it's no wonder that when mankind is led into darkness after the Toba catastrophe and has no way to move forward, that when someone stands up and says, "Hey, I'm your boss now," they follow. And I think the Templars have it right, that humans are built to serve. And this is why a lot of times when they do have a new government, that people just quickly fall in line, follow behind them, follow the order. And as the ironies from the creed suggested, that Altair brought up, they break people from blind faith, but they ask for it in the same. Because the assassins in Assassin's Creed 1 needed people's order. They need people to trust them, to follow them, to listen to them. They were the order in the chaos of that time. They did things through freedom, through liberation, but it was still a form of order. Which is kind of a weird way to look at it. The other thing that I noticed is Assassins and Templars' biggest downfall is greed. We know that the Assassin's Creed itself is three tenets. And there's the creed of nothing is true, everything's permitted. And we all know that the quote, "nothing is true and everything's permitted," isn't an invitation to do whatever you want, to say that whatever you say is wrong and I'll do what I want. It's more of a warning that we have to be careful. We have to follow our own mistakes, as Arno made. It's a dogma. And the Templars have the same ideology problem. Their ideology can seduce so many people into seeking personal power that they don't bring around a tool for peace and harmony. They just do it for themselves. And I think Assassin's Creed 2 is great for this, because the Borgias were after their own personal power. There wasn't evidence that they could have helped bring power to the world, but they didn't. It seemed they wanted personal power. In the Assassin's Creed novels, I keep forgetting his name, but the younger Borgia, the one, not the Pope one, the other one. Sorry, I had it all written down, but my notes have gone again. But he seemed to do everything against his father's wishes. You know, he was, "I want it this way, it has to be done my way." And that's not what the Templars really want. If you look at the modern day timeline of Templars and what they've done through Abstergo, that ideology for world peace through order has created the Animus, which help genetic memories. They've done a lot of scientific research. In the Assassin's Creed Essential Guide that I have been reading a lot this weekend for, lots of little information on the Templars, because there's a lot that I didn't know. But there's a lot of technology Abstergo created that have helped mankind. So that just shows that the Templars' ideology isn't about people bending the knee to force or driving people into subservience. It is order through peace, by keeping people in line. But there is a way to do it. And this is why I believe the Templar ideology is why it's lasted so long. Everybody wants order in life. Everybody wants a routine, something they can latch onto. And because they've been so forefront with working with political powers, you have this automatic notion that you have to listen. If a king, a queen, a mayor, or any government body tells you to do something, it's the law, you have to listen. And that's how Templars have gotten so well at influential power, because getting that ideology sown into mankind's brain is because they've targeted power. Assassins sadly have taken the shadows. They have worked to liberate the ideology if it's uphanded too much. And this is great because, as it is known, that Abstergo, sorry, Matt, I'm coming out of a cold and I'm struggling to read. Otto Berg created a Sigma team to help root out any evil or any corruption in the Templars. Something that the Assassins never really did. There has been, as I've talked about in the moral grey area, the Assassins never really look at the consequences too much. They dive in, see what needs to be done, see what needs to be saved. They go about the business. Sometimes innocent lives are hurt and they don't mean it, but it's the price they're willing to pay for freedom. But the Templar's ideology is, it seems to be about making sure less lives are lost. If Otto Berg is willing to create a team that will root out corruption, it means the Templars understand that their ideology isn't perfect. They understand that their ideology is going to lead to people wanting personal power, personal gain. Somebody could come and say, hey, I'll work with the Templars, I'll work with you all to do what you want, but I want my city to run my way. He's going to tax the poor severely. He's doing it because he has the power. But that's not what the Templar ideology is. The Templar ideology is just about creating balance. And I think over time, seeing how wars have been fought in the name of balance and order, and seeing how much Templars have grasped personal gain, it has twisted the ideology into something that's dark and evil. They're ultimately the bad guys. The Assassins are good, Templars bad, black and white. But if you look at the lives and the ideology of both sides, both ideologies are morally grey. They're both seeking order. Well, peace, essentially. They're both seeking peace and free will. But one side sees it in order, the other in freedom. But you can't have both, and that is a problem. But it's not to say that the Templar ideology has to conflict with the Assassin's ideology. We know that Altair met his wife Maria, who was a Templar. They were able to ignore conflicted ideologies and work together. We know that Haytham Kenway tried to bridge the gap with his son Connor, but philosophy got in the way. And we know that Arno Dorian also tried to keep Elise's memory alive by bridging the gap. So is it possible? Well, no. Well, I shouldn't just say no, but essentially, maybe not. And I'm saying maybe not because the Templar ideology and the Assassin ideology is two sides of the same coin. A coin cannot be balanced if it's all one-sided. It has to be both sides. And as we look through the games and the way things are going, we know that Templars need assassins, and assassins need Templars. Because if the Templars want order, freedom through order, they need a chaos to create the order. And at times, assassins trying to liberate people can cause chaos. It's not an intentional chaos or a bad chaos, because a lot of times when they get involved, it's because someone's seeking too much power. They're not subtly guiding the hands of the government, they're full on twisting governments. We know that, and this is like spoiler, that in Valhalla, we're tasked with destroying the Templars from the inside because exactly that. They've got corrupt, they're more paganistic, they need to be nurtured, grounded, and more focused. And that's what you're trying to do. That's an ideology that's evolving to be the same. Where assassins have just kind of been the same, doing the same thing. They've not evolved their ideology as much because they don't really need to. So I did say at the start that I wanted to look at unification possibilities, and I don't think a unification is possible unless there was an urgent reason to. And the only urgent reason there's ever been for the Templars and the Assassins to work together is, I'm trying not to spoil too much, but Instruments of the First Will. It's a cult of Assassins and Templars working together for a common goal. And in another future episode, I'm just like, going to keep dropping hints here. I'm also going to look at, is the end near for Assassin's Creed? Because I do think that the series has 4 more games before they call it a day. I don't think it'll last past 4 games. Because I believe that it's coming to a point now where Assassins and Templars cannot be the same side. But the Assassins could work with the Templars as a team that roots out corruption. This is just a wild theory, but the ideology and my thoughts on the ideology has always been they want order through freedom. Well, freedom through order. So why can't they have the Assassins on board and say, look, you want freedom through, you want order, you want free will through freedom, we want free will through order. It's the best way to word it. What if we do both? What if we have an order, a structure to life, but you can push back when someone's taking it too far? That's when we need you. If we can't rein in a certain governing body, that they're being too heavy-handed, it's supposed to be guiding the people, not restricting the food, the taxes. So when we send the assassins in to enforce it, to liberate them, to create a martyr, essentially, that the next person comes in vows to be better, it's a unification system that could work. It's a common goal, a common enemy that they could work against. And there is one common goal, one common enemy that is appearing in Assassin's Creed. And I won't say more, but I do think eventually they'll have to unify to create order and chaos as one whole unity, yin and yang. Instead of yin and yang fighting, I think yin and yang should unite. And I do believe that they can't unite at the moment, and I don't think unification would work properly until they have a common goal. So this is all we have time for this evening. I'm sorry that this episode feels a bit rushed or there's some stuttering. Like I said, I've got a cold. I don't know how it's been red hot where I'm living yet. I've got a cold. It's weird. But I really wanted to deliver this episode this week, which is why I've done it, because I need to make more Templar episodes. And if you guys have any Templar themed episodes you want me to look at, please send me them on Twitter at ACLetsTalk or at my email assassinscreedletstalk@gmail.com. Or if you want to actually lead your own Templar episode on this show with me, then by all means come join me. I'm more than happy to make more Templar themed episodes because I have some crazy theories for them. So thank you all for listening, and I'll catch you all next week.